Okay, Gare. So we've been talking a lot about security lately, and we have some security videos coming out. There's a couple questions that I have for you. You're a little farther along on the security arc than I am, so let me ask you about a couple of things specifically. I'm super interested in this, and I know I need to do more, and I definitely want to learn some things. So my first question is, what's the deal with password managers? Do you use one? I've never used one. I've heard a lot about them, but I don't really know much. Is it good? Is it easy? Or what's the deal with those?
I gotta be honest with you. I'm a fan and I'm not a fan at the same time. I think the problem I have is how secure is my password to get into the password manager? Because if my password isn't secure to get into the password manager, then somebody has all my passwords and they have the keys to the kingdom. They can literally log in the password manager to all the apps. So I think that's been one of my reservations about password managers, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments below of how ignorant that is and everything else. But the reality is that's my personal fear of using a password manager. I think it's only as secure as the password that you use for the password manager itself. So I don't like having my stuff out in the cloud, especially my passwords, so to speak. I don't even save my passwords. Like you know how like you Chrome or Edge or all those different browsers ask you, "Oh, would you like us to save your password?" I always say no, because I don't know who's going to be on my computer. I generally lock my computer, but if I leave my computer in a public place and I forget to lock it, somebody can literally go into my browser, log in, make transactions, do all kinds of stuff. I don't think people realize how insecure their information is. So I look at password manager the same way, and I guarantee most of those people would say, "Oh yeah, save my information for my password manager right on my computer." So all I'd have to do is if your computer was locked, I got unlocked and I got access to it, I could literally go in, click the button, log in, and I'd have access to all of your accounts. So from that standpoint, kind of a thumbs down.
Okay, I think that's kind of why I never started using one. I sort of felt the same way. Like I was hoping that they would have some better way of securing that. Because, like you said, someone could have access to all of your passwords then. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate because it sure would be great to have the password situation be easier.
Yeah, and one thing I'm
Um,
going to add before we get off that topic is usually the password authenticators, I believe, use two-factor authentication. So I'd have to have probably access to your laptop and access to your phone. But if you're using it on your phone and I get your phone, I've got access to everything, right? So, and I guess we're going to talk about phones in a little bit here and what we think about security of phones overall. So, but go ahead. I'm
yeah,
curious what your
yeah,
questions are.
yeah. That is another question I have for you. But I'm really glad that you mentioned about never having your browser or whatever save your password for you. I never do. I also have my cookies auto delete all the time. So yeah, I'm always having to retype in my password. Most people can't deal with that, but I really do think that's a pretty good and important security measures. Don't have all these things saving your password for you all the time. I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, I agree. It's I don't save credit cards. I try not to save credit cards, and I try not to save passwords. I mean, that's the easiest way to get hacked.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, another question I had for you. I know that there is this functionality with Coinbase, which obviously a lot of us use to trade cryptos, where you can whitelist addresses where your crypto from your account can be sent to. Which I haven't used that. Again, I think it's another thing I'm really interested in implementing. I want to implement a lot of new security measures. Um, but again, I'm just not really clear exactly on how that works. Can you explain what whitelisting is and how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really important question. So whitelisting is literally you're telling Coinbase these list of accounts. Um, I'm enabling these list of accounts for me to be able to send crypto to. So if I'm a Coinbase user and I have crypto, let's say Bitcoin in Coinbase, anyone right now without whitelisting could potentially send my crypto to any account in the world, right? To any wallet. When I whitelist, I say, only allow my crypto and my Coinbase account to be sent to this specific address. And the cool thing is that when you implement that, Coinbase also puts in a 48-hour cooling off period. So if I whitelist an address, I can't just instantaneously send to it, because imagine a hacker going into your account going, oh, whitelisting's turned on, let me just whitelist this account. Well, it will give you 48 hours, and of course it's going to give you a notification saying, hey, this account has been whitelisted. Did you mean to do that? And you have 48 hours to correct that. I think it's probably one of the single biggest things that you could do to protect your assets within Coinbase, even aside from two-factor authentication. Let's not get hackers or thieves access into your account easily. And I kind of go over that in a video that I'm working on in this video. But the fact of the matter is once they're in there, if they get in there, how do you secure everything from it getting out? The only way that they're going to be able to get anything out of your account is by sending it to another wallet. And if they can't do that because you haven't whitelisted it to, if you have whitelisting on, well, you've stopped them dead in their tracks. Does that make sense to you, Dean?
Yeah, it does. Let me ask you this. So if you don't whitelist any other wallets, then nothing can be sent out of your account then?
100% until it's actually, to be honest with you, it's really inconvenient at first, because if you do not whitelist a wallet outside of your Coinbase account, you have to set up that wallet, wait 48 hours, confirm that's what you meant to do, and then you can send out of your Coinbase account. But if you turn on whitelisting and you don't add any accounts to be whitelisted, yes, 100%. None of your assets, none of your crypto can be transferred out of Coinbase until you whitelist at least one account.
All right, so I know we're going to get into hardware wallets and stuff like that in future videos, but just to be clear how it works with whitelisting. So if you had your own wallet, you wanted to take your crypto off of Coinbase, put it somewhere else, you would have to whitelist that wallet, and then you would send it there, and that's how you're moving it off of Coinbase. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's exactly how the pros do it. They make sure it's whitelisted, and once whitelisted, always whitelisted. So it's not like you're constantly having to update this and do it again. And with Coinbase, I told you there was this 48-hour cooling off period, but when you set up whitelisting, in the first 8 hours, you have the opportunity to put as many addresses in there as possible. So from that standpoint, it's easier to set up. You don't have to get this 48-hour resting period or cooling off period. You could literally set up all the accounts that you want, put that feature on, but once that 8 hours expires, then you're beholden to the 48-hour rule.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about phone security, because a lot of us have our accounts on our phones these days. And yeah, again, another place where I need to bump up my security a little bit, because, well, I mean, I'm using two-factor authentication, which means that to log into my account, I need more than just a password. I need to get a code from my app or through text to log into my account. But once it's on my phone, and as you were mentioning to me earlier, if someone gets my phone and they can get into my phone, let's talk about how people might be able to get into my phone if I'm using my fingerprint reader or the PIN. You were telling me there are some concerns associated with that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, I think I always err on the side of totally paranoid, but that might be too much for a lot of people. But fingerprint readers are great. You put your finger on it, it opens your phone. I've used them and I use them today. The problem and drawback is people can lift fingerprints pretty easily from your own phone screen. And if they can lift that fingerprint, there's a pretty good chance that they could actually make an image of your fingerprint and use that fingerprint to open and unlock your phone. Pretty crazy stuff, huh? It's not very sophisticated, even though we believe it's secure. It's not very sophisticated how that mechanism works. So wouldn't do that. Well, I wouldn't use that as my only line of defense. Let's put it that way. I'd want to have another form of authentication that hit me. So if I used my fingerprint, I'd still want some kind of two-factor authentication. So I'd actually have to go authorize yet another level of security once I got in with my fingerprint.
And how about the pattern? Is that more secure then, or what do you
Well, the
think of that?
pattern is kind of bothersome to me. How many times people have to put in their pattern every single day? Eventually, you're wearing a line on your phone. So if you actually turn your phone off and you kind of tilt it a little bit, you can see the reflection. I bet you on most phones, I'd be able to see the pattern line pretty easily where people have gone over and over and over. Let's just say they made a Z pattern on their phone. You would clearly see what their pattern is, and you could follow that pattern pretty easily.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty crazy to think about all these angles of these safety measures. So how about the face reading security?
I I understand that it might have been updated, but at one point they were able to hold up the phone next to a picture of somebody to be able to log in. I'm not sure that's the case today, but that gives me some concern, right? I mean, if that's the case and that was a hack at one point when we all thought it was secure, I don't know what's going on with that today, but if it's secure, I'd like to learn more about it. I'd like somebody to comment below and maybe tell me a little bit more about that. But from what I remember, and it wasn't too long ago, we were able to hold up a picture, and maybe Apple has corrected the problem, but I'm not sure that Samsung or Huawei or any of the other phone providers that are doing facial recognition have actually done something about that. So it's something to keep in mind.
Okay, well, after discussing these phone security issues with you, there's an idea that I've had in mind for a while, which is, well, because of the fact that I don't actively trade cryptos that much, I'm mostly a hodler. I'm mostly a long-term holder of cryptos, so I don't do a lot of trading or in and out. So I've been thinking that a great solution for me would be, instead of having the actual accounts on my phones, the actual apps, and being logged into them just to check my account balances, I've been having the idea of finding an app where I could just put in how many of each cryptos I own, and then basically input my portfolio, and that could just tell me where my current balance is at, so I can check it that way instead of using the actual trading app. And then I could get the trading apps off of my phone. I think that would be way more secure. And I did just really briefly look into whether that type of app is available, and it appears that there are quite a few of them. So I'm going to be looking into that, and I would just feel so much more secure. I could check my balances all the time. I wouldn't have the app. I wouldn't be logged in on my phone, and a much better security measure. But I won't be able to trade them from my phone. I'll have to get to my computer to do that. But to me, it sounds like a pretty decent trade-off.
I believe it's a wonderful trade-off, especially if you're a hodler. If you're an active trader, that app's a little bit harder to manage. I actively trade, so for me, that's not an ultimate solution. But I do want to talk about having Coinbase on your phone or all these other apps. You know, your phone has everything on it, and if somebody hacks your phone and they use your fingerprint, or they're able to get in, or they figure out your security, um, they could potentially get into Coinbase and they could potentially wreak havoc in Coinbase. Hopefully, some of the suggestions that we're making in this video are gonna help you kind of clean up some of those things. Um, one of the things I do want to say though is, by having these apps on your phone, some of the most irrational decisions in terms of trading I've done on my cell phone, right?
Yeah.
So if I could go back every time I traded something on my cell phone and erase that, I would. And so from that standpoint alone, I don't recommend that you trade on your cell phone, because I remember I was at Buffalo Wild Wings with some friends one night, and all of a sudden the market just took a wicked turn. I was watching it go down, and it dropped to like 32,000 or something like that. And this was prior to this most recent drop. And I freaked out, and I just sold almost all my Bitcoin all at once. And guess what? I sold at the bottom, and it was terrible. I wished I hadn't had the app on my phone to be able to do that. And it's a good idea not to have the app for security reasons, but it's also a really good idea not to have the app on your phone for the reasons I just explained. Irrational trading, irrational transactions. It really is a cesspool for that.
Yeah, it's a good point to make, and for everyone to keep in mind, whether you're trading often or once in a while, whenever you do it, you want it to be a well-considered decision where you're taking in as many factors as you can, and you're not distracted by where you might be at the time or whatever's going on, right?
Yeah, I would, if I could go back to that one night and not sell off that many Bitcoin at that price, I would do it in a heartbeat. Luckily, Bitcoin gave me a second chance, but still, I still incurred the losses, and that was kind of it was kind of a lesson learned. So I think get the apps off your phone for trading is a pretty good idea from those two perspectives: one for security and two for not making irrational decisions. Yeah, I mean, these are all great topics, and I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, you can never be too cautious. The problem is most people wait until it's too late, right? I'm not talking about uh, cold storage at this point, but that is the next step. That's something I want to talk about with you. In fact, where is it? It's right here. I have one of these waiting for you. It's called the
Oh,
Ledger
nice.
Nano S. I prefer the Ledger Nano X, but the Ledger Nano S is an entryway into cold storage, and it's something I'm going to be talking about in one of my videos coming up really soon. So I think that's kind of the ultimate security level that you can take with storing your crypto. Way too much for this conversation today, but something that we'll be talking about in the future.
Well, thanks for covering these topics today. It's a great place to start with a very important topic. Definitely interested in learning more myself through you. You're ahead of the curve, ahead of me on the curve here with security. So I'm excited to learn more, implement things, and create this series of crypto security we'll be working on as we move into the future. So looking forward to it just personally for myself. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think it'll be really good for everyone watching if they're interested in that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dean. And I really appreciate the conversation today. And if you like what we're talking about, please hit the like and subscribe button below and share with your friends.